Hello. In light of the stress and uncertainty caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, I hope to give you some ideas and inspiration for some simple and nutritious meals. Having a grocery list and planning out meals for several days ahead is useful to help limit trips to the grocery during this time. Going to the store once per week or even once every 2 weeks is ideal rather than several times per week. It is tempting, I know, to stock up on food, but please be mindful of others by stocking your kitchen with about 2 weeks of food versus several months. Today, I'd like to highlight a few pantry items that are nice to have on hand. I'll demonstrate a family favorite, quesadillas, using some canned goods. I'd also like to mention some meat extenders. This is a way to stretch your food budget and is more nutritious. More on that later. As a dietitian nutritionist, I try to find creative ways to add in nutritious food like fruits and vegetables at most every eating opportunity, sometimes by blending it in or chopping it a different way, and other times as a simple side dish. Let's start with meat extenders, then I will discuss a few other pantry all-stars. So with meat, typically the most expensive item on a grocery bill, by blending in beans, lentils, or mushrooms, you can increase the number of servings. For example, where 1 pound of meat might make 4 burgers, the blended burger using 1 pound plus mushrooms can give you more servings. So let me just show how to do that blended burger. You start with your meat that has been either fresh or thawed really well, and then you finely chop mushrooms and then saute that with oil for a few minutes. Now the recipe that I'm including along with other recipes today does call for both garlic and onions as well, and if your family doesn't tolerate that, it's fine to leave those out and just use the chopped mushrooms. You can finely chop these mushrooms just with a cutting board and knife, or if you have a food processor, that's a real quick and easy way to finely chop them. So once that mixture is cooled from sauteing on the stove and a little bit of oil, then you can form them into either meatballs or a burger in this case. So let me just show you. This is 4 patties that were then transformed into 6 by incorporating that mixture of mushrooms, garlic, and onions. And in this case, I would suggest putting them in the freezer for 15 minutes to harden up so they don't fall apart when you're grilling them or cooking them. And the benefit of this blended burger is now you're providing per burger fewer calories, less saturated fat, more fiber, also some potassium and selenium from the mushrooms, and great flavor. Mushrooms provide this terrific umami flavor, and most people enjoy this blended burger better than traditional. All right, another example I'd like to give is for tacos. So using a can of refried beans, you would brown and drain your meat for tacos as normal, and then return that drained meat back to that skillet and add a can of refried beans to blend in, along with taco seasoning. You could start with a half a can of the beans if you prefer, and if your taste, you don't like that real thick consistency, you could always add in some tomato sauce or enchilada sauce if it's too thick. Okay, another example of extending meat is with using lentils. I have here some canned lentils. If you're not familiar with these gems, lentils are very nutritious. They are part of the legume family, just as beans are as well. Very nutrient rich, providing a non-meat source of protein, B vitamins, and an excellent source of both fiber and iron. They're great for soups, stews, casseroles, or in this case, to extend meat in a meatloaf. So for those who may dislike beans or lentils, they are easier to like since they are much smaller. Just to show you here, I have a dried Great Northern bean, I have a small lentil here, and then some canned black bean. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate chicken black bean quesadillas. And to start, I'm going to start with a can of chicken and drain the water off the bat and put that in a bowl. I have it already mixed up though here. So I started with the chicken and then I added in a can of black beans that I rinsed and drained really well. Added that in and then I like to fork mash these black beans. Now we have many kids that are more resistant to liking beans, so if they're fork mashed, they're a little bit more disguised. I'm not trying to hide them necessarily, but they're just easier to like when they're mashed up. So after we add the chicken and the black beans, then you can add your taco seasoning. Here we are. I used this taco seasoning here, added a packet of that. And then I added in some bell pepper. In this case, I used a yellow bell pepper, but it doesn't matter which color, you know, the yellow, red, orange, green. They're a sweet pepper, not a hot, spicy pepper, so an excellent thing to include. In this case, I did use a fresh yellow bell pepper, but if those are not available, I also like to have this frozen tri-pepper, 3-pepper onion blend, and this would work just fine. So take out just the amount that you want to add in for these quesadillas, put your twisty tie on, put it back in the freezer for another time. Okay, so I have that whole mixture here, and now I'll get the tortillas. Now I am using a whole wheat tortilla. Corn tortillas would work fine, or whatever your family prefers. And so I have them started here. I'm going to add on that mixture of chicken, beans, and bell pepper. And the recipe actually makes enough for 4 of these, but I start here with that. And then I'm going to top it with some cheese, you know. Any cheese you use is fine. I like the stronger flavored kinds, like a pepper jack, Monterey Jack, sharp cheddar. So we're gonna add on a sprinkle of cheese to the top. The top tortilla. And then we have a preheated oven at 375, and we're gonna bake these for 10 minutes. All right, fast forward, 10 minutes are up. I went ahead and used a pizza cutter to slice into the quesadilla. And we have this ooey gooey yummy chicken black bean quesadilla. And I'd suggest serving it with things like salsa, avocado slices, maybe ranch dressing, sour cream, or you could actually use plain Greek yogurt in place of sour cream if you want. And there you have it. All right, so for that quesadilla recipe, you could also add extra can of chicken for a larger family, or take the chicken out even if you prefer meatless. So just some different variations of that quesadilla recipe to make it work for your family. Now with today, I am highlighting several canned goods, and for good reason. Not only are they very inexpensive and ultra convenient, they are very nutritious too. They can get a bad rap though due to the sodium or salt content, but thankfully there are many low sodium varieties to choose from. Just to show one here, I have some canned garbanzo beans that are reduced sodium, so 50% less than the original canned garbanzo beans. And in the case of the quesadilla recipe, I did rinse the canned beans, which could take off about 40% of the sodium. Some other pantry all-stars I'd like to mention. The canned beans, for example, can also be used for soup or chili. I like to roast chickpeas in the oven as a snack, or to top a salad, a green salad with, or even a cold bean salad would work as well. Cowboy caviar, I think people like to call that, which has different canned beans and corn as like a salsa, and that can be a good option for beans. They are an excellent source of fiber and a non-meat source of protein. So that's a great thing to include, and they're so convenient. You don't have to, they're already cooked and no soaking required. Just to show you here, we have a dry beans and dry bag of lentils. So these will take longer to cook, and soaking is definitely required for the dry beans. So with both the lentils and the beans, they've already been cooked, no soaking required. All right, the next all-star pantry item I wanted to talk about are different canned protein options like tuna, salmon, and canned chicken. So no defrosting of frozen meat or trimming or deboning, and cooking that meat can take a while, so it definitely is very convenient. One of my favorites is utilizing salmon, canned salmon, and this is a skinless, boneless, so making it easier once again. And can make these into salmon burgers. So adding in some breadcrumbs, some egg, a little bit of diced onion, a little mayonnaise to bind that into forming a burger, and very well liked by all, especially those finicky fish eaters that aren't too interested in fish. This is a great starter recipe for them. Canned tuna, another easy item, can be used for your tuna salad. So just your tuna and mayonnaise with some relish or diced celery and onions, a nice way to make just your tuna salad. Now I did want to show you a different version of a tuna salad, more of your mixed green lettuce. I added in some shredded carrot and some diced apple with this. Top it with some canned tuna, Italian dressing, and you're good to go for a simple meal. I mentioned earlier how sometimes chopping a vegetable in a different way can make it different, especially for kids. So for example, I might have baby carrots as a side option and no one eats them. But then all of a sudden, if you shred it, either with a peeler or just dice it with a knife and cutting board, or even buy shredded carrots, they're all about it and will eat them. So just an idea for cutting vegetables, chopping them in different ways can help. Okay, so that's the canned protein ideas. We also have canned fruit as an all-star pantry item. It's nice to rely on the in-season fresh produce when you can, but something like peaches that aren't available year-round or don't taste as well unless they're in season, it's nice to have the canned version. So it can be used as a simple side, or to satisfy a sweet craving, or can be incorporated into meals like a baked oatmeal, or have a long cottage cheese as a mini meal or snack. Another pantry all-star is diced tomatoes. Tomatoes can be used for your chilies, stews, soups, and are a nice, quick, and convenient option. And the cool thing about the canned tomatoes, they do provide a source of vitamin C, but because of the canning process, actually have more lycopene than fresh tomatoes. Lycopene is a beneficial antioxidant, so that's a nice thing to have on hand. The last pantry item I wanted to feature is oatmeal. So there are different varieties of oatmeal to choose from. We have steel cut oats, old-fashioned oats. We have the quick cooking oats that are either in a larger canister or are in a packet with other additives, other flavorings. And all of these options are good. As we were talking earlier about extending the food budget with extending the meat, you can also think of that with buying this larger canister of oatmeal. Provides 30 servings compared to a box of instant oatmeal. Usually has 8 to 10 servings in it with the same cost. So per serving, we're looking at 8 cents a serving compared to almost 30 cents a serving here. But you're also more in control of how you're making this oatmeal. You know, you can microwave it with some water, and then when it's done, add in your preferred toppings. So add in some cinnamon, your choice of sweetener if you want, and then some fruit, whatever you have on hand, whether it's some frozen berries, fresh berries, or even raisins. If you're wondering about the difference nutritionally from like your steel cut and old-fashioned and instant, they're pretty similar actually. The main thing is the processing involved. So the instant oats are cut and rolled thinner to be able to cook faster. But basically it's still the whole grain for all of these varieties. I hope you have enjoyed some ideas utilizing these featured pantry items. I would like to challenge you to just add one to some of your current meals. For example, if you make macaroni and cheese and usually include broccoli with that, maybe adding in canned tuna with that meal. Or if you typically have spaghetti and it's just spaghetti, meat sauce, and meat, adding in some canned green beans or frozen vegetable as a side dish. If you like the idea of blending in, you could blend in some shredded carrots with your meatloaf or the lentils that we showed today. Mixed vegetables could be added to rice. You could add beans to lettuce salad or fruit to your lettuce salad that you like to make. So basically, I like to give you a variety of recipes to look at as a starting point. Feel free to adapt and change them to your preferences and make them your own. So that's all for now. Enjoy and be safe.